right, so welcome to Symposium. Now, you are going. Let's see how long it takes for you to start talking.
I want you to redo that intro.
Well, I don't care what you want. This is full transparency, but Symposium.
Yeah, but you have to introduce me. I don't.
Okay, so this is where to start. Where do I start? Let's see. Well, you're the first guest, so how do you feel about being the first guest, first of all? Before I introduce you, how do you feel about being the first guest?
It really feels like an honor.
It does, right?
It does.
So hold on, wait, note number 2, acknowledge the producer. Hello, producer.
Okay, that is so long ago, no one remembers that.
No, but it's like it's for us, really. So you are note number 2. You are my better half. You are a sovereign individual, Marileidy Diaz.
I'm really shocked that you had to say that I'm sovereign.
Why are you shocked that I had to say that you're sovereign?
I don't know. Is that like part of?
You are not a slave, for sure. You are not my slave.
Michael.
And you have your own rights, all right? And
even though I'm a woman,
you have your own cage that I let
Michael!
you go back to.
Oh my god.
All right, so obviously this is very hilarious banter that's all going in. If I asked you, right, to give me a paper to introduce yourself, what would it be?
Paper?
No, give me a piece of paper or give me some jot some notes down to introduce you. What would you give me?
You should have asked me to do this
I'm asking you it now.
podcast.
This is pretend like this is a job interview. What would you tell me to do?
I came to have fun, not to be on a job interview.
Job interviews are fun.
No, they're
All right,
not.
so say I said Marileidy.
Oh my god.
I said Marileidy. Give me some things to introduce you. What would it be? This is a good therapeutic thing.
Well, you're supposed to do your research on me.
I'm not supposed to do anything.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to do a dang thing. I can do whatever I want. This is my podcast, remember?
Exactly.
This is called Symposium with Mike Murdoch.
Don't you research your source or your subject?
I don't have to research you. I'm researching you all 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the research with you is done. Also, if you know anything about me, I'm not a researcher, and I am not a person who does their homework. I come in there.
That's how I would introduce
come in there.
you.
Exactly. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to half-ass it. Hopefully we have a good show, and that's it. All right?
But you got a twinkle in your eye. So,
I do.
So that's what keeps the people
So
coming
if
back.
I was going to, because now, all right. All right. If I was going to give you a piece of paper to introduce me, right, I would say Mike Murdoch, visionary,
Okay.
creator, creative, seeker of knowledge, lover of knowledge. Wait, what does philosophy mean?
Lover of wisdom.
Lover of wisdom.
Or knowledge.
Wise.
Are knowledge and wisdom different things?
Are knowledge and wisdom different things? Yes, because you could have the knowledge of something. You could know a lot of things, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're wise. Meaning, symposium. We're having a symposium right here. I would say wisdom is applying the knowledge that you learn and coming up with a good understanding of it. Like a deep understanding of it, not just knowing kind of facts or knowing, oh, that happened to me in life, but also applying it, hopefully to make you a better person. I would say that's wisdom.
That's a good definition.
Yeah.
So what's knowledge? Is it just facts?
The knowledge of something, like I would say it's facts. I would say it could be, if you're good at math, you're very smart.
But
right?
what if you're a
you're
theoretical mathematician? Are you wise?
And
does being wise require the study of something?
I would say wise. Maybe you have to have an imagination for wise. And
I like that. That's
right?
pretty.
Right? I'm a pretty good. So, that's what I would say. Wise is that, and knowledge is. I don't know. What do you think? You're the educator girl. What do you think?
I guess so. Like they don't feel like the same thing to me either. And I like that definition of like including the imagination with wisdom. I think knowledge is the application of ideas and theory. Because I think you are gaining something from like just scientific study, but then I think when you move into like the theory and the abstract, I think you need an imagination for that. But honestly, you're probably using your imagination in both scenarios. It's just maybe when it is like gaining knowledge is more, it's more limited to like a specific area of study.
Is your imagination always there then?
I think so, but I think we like put our imagination in a container so that we can gain knowledge and like focus our attention on one area of study.
But so if we use our imagination to gain knowledge, right? Oh no, we you're saying we disregard our imagination.
No, I think we put it in a box. Like, okay, so these are the limitations of my imagination right now. I only need my imagination to function in this way.
That's so funny that you say that, because isn't that funny with academics? Like when you see academics and people that are really big in their fields or very smart in their fields, right? They're kind of more limited in what they believe or what could believe, what they could believe,
what is possible.
But also too, and on a reciprocal note, with the wisdom, I think that wisdom, when they remember their imagination, like you said, that's when they're like the best of their class, I would say, or the best of their field, is that they're remembering that we have to learn all this stuff but keep that imagination inside.
Yeah,
that's very interesting. Symposium. That's why it's called. But this is actually this is an interesting topic, because I don't think there's a right. I obviously, if you know me, you know that I don't think that there's a right answer for anything. But, and I think that everything is always constantly. I have my opinion of something in the moment, but I don't know. What do you think
about
like that? Do you think that there are right answers and wrong answers, or do you think it's just continuous knowledge and learning?
I think that there are right answers in the moment. You know, like I think there are right answers like when it comes to how we relate to other people. Like, am I going to hurt this person or am I going to love this person? I think that there are right answers in a moment to moment basis, but I think after that moment passes, which is, it's pretty quickly, we don't really capture it, but I think it fades away afterwards, and I think it does enter like into this continuous shift and change. I think we can zero in on what's right in a particular instance, but I don't think it's something that we can apply across the board.
Do you think it's more emotional then?
What, like right and wrong? I think so. I think most of our experience is emotional, whether we realize it or not. I don't want to say all, because I haven't like really dug that deep into things, but I think that we're mostly operating from our emotional energy. And I think that that's why we can't apply things across the board as absolutes, and that's why things are always changing, because the like source is always changing and moving. So
do you think that even the people that do know things concrete are acting emotionally in what they know?
Yeah.
So, I'm a scientist, I'm a mathematician, I'm a this, I'm a that. I know these things. But it's not the knowledge of them, it's the emotion attached to, I'm emotional because if you're saying I don't know these things, I'm offended by this kind of thing? Or what?
Maybe that, but also it could be that being offended that you're like going after the thing that I love the most. But I think even the question of like what brought you to that place to begin with? Like, what brought you to the place of studying whatever it is that you're studying? Like, that didn't happen by chance.
Yeah.
That was like a culmination of so many different moments and instances that kind of guided you to where you are in that direction. And that's emotion. Where we are where we are because we've been guided here by how we've felt about things over time.
Do you think that you get to pick what you are interested in at first?
I think so. And I think that that's where the power of manifestation is. I think manifestation is choosing moments to create what it is that you want to live and experience. So instead of going with what you've always going in the direction you've always went, if you want something in your life, it's about choosing it in each moment. And I think that is where our power of choice comes in. I think we always get to choose. I think some of us are born knowing, like, we just know what we want and where we want to be. And I think some of us have to choose it every day and remind ourselves. I've always had that question. Like, I've always wondered if I wanted to be a writer or a poet or a painter, because and my want for it meant that I wasn't born with it or born with that desire already. And so, like, I've always had that question, but I think everything is a choice. I think anything can manifest itself as long as you decide it for yourself.
So that's actually funny, because when we were watching last night, the documentary, Patty Chayefsky, who is a screenwriter, writes movies, and he said, what was the first quote that, like, it shows on the screen? Do you remember it?
He says that writers have to stop thinking about writing as art and start looking at it as work.
And isn't that crazy? Because it's a form of expression, and it's a passion.
Yeah.
But it's work.
Yeah.
And that's something that in your mind, it's like, maybe that's where the knowledge and the imagination comes in. You have to have the knowledge and the imagination right there. When those two things are linked, that's when you make beautiful things, you know? So maybe the knowledge of actually sitting down and writing every day, maybe that's the knowledge of it, the practical part of it.
The discipline. The
discipline of it. Because is it saying, like, even same thing with me, like, I'm a writer, you're a writer, you know, the writing, the podcasting even. Podcasting is something that, I really love to do, but then I stopped doing it. Why?
Yeah.
For years. Because there's also work. It's the work. You have to get up and you actually have to do it. You have to apply it, you know? And
you have to feel your way through it.
Yeah.
It isn't just done, you know? It's like, oh shit, I actually hate this right now.
Yeah.
Or like, I feel terrible. Or this is, and then you have to kind of deal with all of those insecurities that we all have that come up whenever you're doing something that you love.
Yeah.
And that's work.
For instance, like, even writing, we'll go to writing. I'm going to ask you this question. Writing, would you say writing isolated? Forget about everything else. Isolated, just writing. You sitting down and writing. How do you feel when you do that?
It really depends on, like, what... I think it really depends on how I've came about writing. Like, it really varies from moment to moment. I think that most of the time I feel... So before, because I recently went back to school, but before I went back to school, I was having these feelings of, when I would sit down to write or do anything, like, I would have this feeling of, this doesn't mean anything. Like, there is no purpose or rhyme or reason for doing this at all. And I diagnosed that in myself as, like, a gap in my historical knowledge and learning and understanding, because everything is so meaningful and significant. It comes from somewhere that we can't even, like, imagine, like, these worlds where, like, writing was developed, for example. So for me, starting to fill that historical gap has made writing such an important part of like my human experience. And I think that now I see it as magic, being able to bring a bunch of words together to say something. I think that that is something that we take for granted in our world. But at some point that didn't exist for people, and people had to figure out how to use symbols to communicate a message to one another. And so I don't know, I think it's definitely changed since I filled that like historical gap in my mind and positioned myself in the world and started to really see where is it that these ideas come from, and this knowledge that we use every single day. And yeah, I think like writing in itself, like the structure of it is knowledge, and then I think when you bring in your imagination, that's creative writing.
So I'm gonna go back to one of the things that you said earlier, and it when it's isolated, right? And then you, after I asked you that, and then you said, I'm saying it's stupid, right? Why are you saying it's stupid in that one moment?
I guess because I haven't really tried to do it in that moment. It's just a judgment that I'm placing on like the writing without really...
Your writing specifically.
My writing specifically, without really diving deep into it, what it is that I want to uncover. And I think part of it, specifically with writing, I think it is about finding a common thread in your writing that shows you like what your voice is, because we all have access to these words, but I think what makes us all unique and different in our expression is how we use these words. And I think once you start to see that, how you as like the individual works and what is the thing that excites you the most, I think that that's when things become not stupid but meaningful.
And that's only through practice, I would say.
Yeah.
The practice of doing the thing.
Literally.
What is my style?
Trial by fire.
Because you also can't control your style.
No.
Your style is your style, and then it's only upon reflection of whatever you do, whether it is podcasting, writing, acting, drawing, whatever this is, it's your style. The only way you uncover it is you do it. And that's to say you could draw a bunch of different pictures of a bunch of different styles. You could write a bunch of different stories. You could podcast a bunch of different ideas, but you're bringing yourself to it. So that is, in a sense, your style to it.
Yeah.
So that's so interesting. I remember I was writing, like it was like months ago. I was writing something every day. And I realized, like, I was looking at my style. I was like, oh, this is definitely me just writing in writing form. And it wasn't, I'm a fan of myself, but that's something I want to get back to with you. But it's not that it's good or bad. It's just like, oh, this is my voice. Like, you could hear it in your whatever expression that you're doing. And to go back to you is so interesting, because it's funny knowing you a little bit, closest person to me. Knowing you are so loving and caring and accepting, and you actually love hearing people talk about things they're passionate about. And I see this with so many people, where when you say, oh, that's really cool, oh, that's beautiful, that's cool, and they're like, it's stupid, it's not that good. And it's the same thing in you. You, Marileidy, you specifically, it's the same thing in you. Not that you think it's stupid, but we have that initial like, this could be better. Yeah, isn't that so, like, always. What is that? Isn't that so funny? Because that's why I was mentioning the isolated thing.
Yeah.
Because isolated, your writing is beautiful, because you're writing for yourself and it's your voice coming out. Whether other people like it or not, that's a different thing. Whether other people, whatever your art is too, it's not just writing, whatever you choose to do, it's beautiful because you're doing it. So isolated, it's beautiful. But then we think about like, oh, if other people see it, what are other people going to think? People might think it's stupid, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like isolated, it's beautiful. And passion is always beauty. So everything you write is beautiful. You're a great artist. You're taking an art class, a drawing class now, and you're great at it, you know. But it's so funny because to see you give people grace and discretion and say like, oh, that's beautiful, that's great.
Yeah.
And then for yourself, I think that's just natural in us people.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not that good. It's not that good.
Yeah. I agree with that. That definitely is the case, because I look at like my classmates' art, and even if they don't like it, I can see like something so beautiful in it, and or something unique in it, or like a specific way that they rendered an object that I really like, you know. So but the thing that I am learning in drawing overall is that I have to find something that I like about what I'm doing, or it's just going to feel like it's just going to feel like labor. It's not going to feel like an expressive thing. It's going to feel like I'm forcing something down my throat. And so I've learned to like things about myself, but I think what when you do learn to observe the things in your drawing that you like, it also helps you see where you can improve. And I think that's also important, like having that balance of like, okay, I really, really like how I made this shadow, right? But it's also showing me that this area needs a little bit more work. And I think that's also important. But I just think that we shouldn't get carried away with that idea of perfection. I think it's really about finding balance in a composition, and I think that applies to life and anything we do.
I think it's so funny that you said that, because that goes with looking back, right, at different art and different things you do. I've been doing a little bit of Ken Burns, the documentarian, the filmmaker who does all the PBS things. I've been watching a lot of his interviews because he just came out with American Revolution, a Revolutionary War documentary series. And he said, he was doing an interview, and he said in the interview, he's like, people ask me all the time, oh, because when you do a documentary on anything, an expose on anything, you're like, oh, you look back, you're like, I should have fixed this, I should have done this, I should have done this. It goes with anything that you do, right? So he said, people ask him all the time, do you think, when you watch your old stuff, do you wish you could change it? And he goes, no, are you kidding me? He goes, that's like who I was, who we were back then. I'm paraphrasing here. That's who we were back then, and that's what we made back then, him and his whole crew. He's like, that's like when you look at old photographs and you're wearing like baggy jeans or a crazy outfit, and you're like, oh, shouldn't have worn that. And it's like, but you go back and change it? No, that's who you were back then. Yeah. So that's so interesting, right? Because if you have your old paintings or your old writings, you could look at it and be like, there's something to that, but I'm definitely way more, I've grown wiser. Come make it full circle. Grown wiser in myself and in my work.
Yeah.
You know?
And sometimes I do look back at my writing and I'm like, will I ever be able to capture like this? I don't know. Will I ever be able to write like this again? You know, because some things just happen, you know, some things just emerge and you're like, I don't know where the hell this came from. And I think that's part of like the magic as well of creating anything.
Like, do you find notes written and you're like,
whoa,
did I write this? Who wrote this?
And you know, I always, if I see a quote that I like in a book or something, I always cite my sources. Like, I always write.
You always write it next to it?
Yeah, I always write who the authors are. And then sometimes I'll find quotes that are not cited, and I'm like, wait, did I write this? Because this is kind of good.
When I used to have social media, I used to come up with quotes myself and then just write anonymous next to it. So people thought I pulled from it, and see like if people like it or not. Whoa. I'm gonna start doing that again, actually, on the podcast. Yeah. So I don't know who said this, but it sounds pretty good. But yeah, it's so fascinating. It's like when I was in acting class, and that's why for me, I think it's so. If I was to describe myself going back to the beginning, I'd be like, I'm just gonna vibe out here, just a vibey guy, because when I was in acting class, Alan, I remember we were doing a scene, and Alan was like my acting teacher. He was like, you know, I noticed something about you. You're not too hard on yourself, Mike. And I was like, you're right. That's funny. And I started laughing because it's true. I'm not, because you have to give yourself time. to get better at everything. And guess what? You're never going to be perfect at everything, so you could always get better at it. What?
Could I be perfect?
Yeah. But I'm actually very proud of you because so you just like you said before, you started going back to school. How do you find school right now? Like, how do you find school different? Because you haven't went for what, 5 years?
Yeah.
So you haven't been there for 5 years. You were an academic prodigy in your time. That's how it started out. You're an academic prodigy at your time. Okay. So you're really smart. You get A's. You know, when you're great at math, science,
Getting
English,
A's
everything.
Mean you're smart.
No, but like you're a good school. You're good at school. You're good at schooling. Something I'm not good at, right?
I've always been like a student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna, obviously I know a lot about you, so I'm not gonna say. But from your perspective, or from your eyes and your journey, how do you feel this time around? You know, you changed your major, right? So what was your major before?
Oh wow, I've gone through a few different ones. Do you want me to name them all, or just the most recent one? Okay.
Yeah.
All.
You could say whatever you want about each one or whatever. Yeah.
So I started off like right from high school. I started off as an engineering major, and I was also pre-med. So I was trying to
2 very easy things. Yeah.
It's just so easy. Yeah. So I was trying to do those things, and I really enjoyed the math in my engineering classes, but I hated everything else. Like, I did like my lab classes where we got to build things, but I don't know what it was. At some point, I was just like, this is horrible. I hate this. And people who are able to, like, go through with engineering and, like, I don't even know, like, what kind of, like, mental, like, state you need to be in, because it definitely does feel, I don't know. I think I think it is made for very specific minds. And especially now, like, where it's not necessarily like, oh, I'm shadowing like someone who's making cool objects. It's like, no, you're going to sit and lecture for hours, and then you're going to work with new technologies to like, and I'm just not like I'm very much like an analog kind of person. I like to do my drawings on paper with pencil. I like to, for me, it was very difficult, like integrating the new technologies into and mixing that with the math and the engineering. So that didn't work out. And then I switched from that to English. Like that's always been a good solid framework for me.
You always love reading.
I always
love
reading. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So English was great. And then I was finding that English wasn't like deep enough for me. Oh my goodness. I'm young. This is my early 20s. Okay. And English wasn't deep enough for me. So I switched my major to philosophy. And then philosophy, I was like...
Too deep.
No, it was too deep in the sense that I was like, these philosophers are telling me to like quit school and go live my life. Like, how the hell am I supposed to understand anything that they're saying if they're saying that the foundation of all my knowledge is experience? And I don't have any of it. Yeah. So I need to go experience. And it was right around COVID. And so I was just like, I cannot do this anymore. I was really burnt out because how I was functioning in school before going back recently, I was just relying on like just pure brain power to get me through things. I wasn't studying. I wasn't really like I was really just relying on luck and natural talent and ability to read something and be like, all right, this is the answer. And that's probably why I didn't do so well in engineering and pre-med, because I was like, this, but and it worked out in English and philosophy because it's more like theoretical and imaginative. So now my major is art history, which I think really does a good job at incorporating everything that I've learned before and all the classes that I've taken before and all the majors that I've declared. So yeah, I think it does a good job at capturing all of those different interests, because even though they didn't work out how I wanted them to, and I'm not a doctor, there's still things about those fields that interest me, and I think art history does a great job at capturing all of that.
It's so funny because when you describe it like that, it's such a easy what was that? The span of what? 8 years?
That was a span of
7 years?
10 years.
10 years?
Well, 10
Oh,
years
10 years.
minus 5 years.
Yeah. Well, 10 years,
Yeah.
like just all of that, obviously.
Yeah.
It's such a good span of, I'm told to do engineering and medical. Hate that. All right, you know what? I'm gonna do English. People, that's a good major. Let me do English. I love English. There's something missing here. Let me do philosophy. What is this philosophy? What is life? I'm gonna go into the forest and make twig fences.
Yeah.
The philosopher in you is telling you everything is meaningless. Go take time off and live your life. You go live your life, and then you say, you know what? Now I know who I am. I know what I want. And you go back to school and you start doing something that you love. And honestly, seeing you, this is your first semester back, seeing the difference, because I met you during your philosophy downfall.
You met me during my engineering downfall.
Was it your engineering?
Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
I was with you for your engineering. Oh, so it was just it was like you were skiing straight down the hill. Okay. Yeah, that's what I met you. Okay. So, but seeing you now, so much wiser, I would say wiser, and you're implementing everything, and you found, and it's so funny because when you said I'm going for art history, I didn't even think of that. But that was something that must have been ruminated, and I'm with you all the 24/7 pretty much.
It's so funny how it came about. I'll tell you later if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to tell me now.
Oh no, I'll tell you now.
Yeah.
It literally happened.
Tell our friends.
It literally happened. We're gonna major in comparative literature because I was like, okay, this makes sense. And then I'm like, these classes don't really fit in with my schedule. And I'm like, I wonder what would. And then I just started exploring, and I was like, okay, whatever, fine. I got to declare major. This is it.
Yeah.
Art history. There we go. And when I tried to major in the comparative literature class, there was one class that they wouldn't accept because I don't know, it was just a credit thing, and I was like, what the heck, like this is too overcomplicated. And then I started doing some research on art history, like very casually, and then I literally decided, I'm like, this is it. This just makes sense. One, it makes sense, and it aligns with the schedule that I want to have, and it fits perfectly into my life. And I was like, that's how I want to feel when I do anything.
Yeah, but the actual art history stuff, though, is you don't just come upon that, though.
Yeah.
It's not just that fits into your life. It's like you're very interested in it, and you're working very hard at it. You're reading dense things. You're looking up old historical stuff. I mean, what are you taking? What are your classes you're taking?
My art history classes, I'm taking an early Christian and Byzantine art class.
Yes.
And I'm also taking a Western art class.
Yes.
So the beginnings of like Western art.
Like Mesopotamia and all that stuff.
So like,
which is the first civilizations, 5,000
So
BC.
like upper Paleolithic times, and then all the way to probably the 17th century. Yeah, so this is older things. Mm-hmm. You're looking back. Mm-hmm. In a world where we're just looking forward, you're looking back. I feel like I needed that.
Yeah, but just to see you, once again, to see you up close and personal, it's very much that it doesn't look like it's an obligation for you.
No.
It looks like you are actually enjoying it. And even in your writing. So it's funny because where if you don't sit down and write for yourself, you're having deadlines now.
Yeah.
So that's also something that's funny because my cousin Vinny, who's also, shout out Vin, who's also a artist, he loves to draw, and he was saying, yeah, and he was showing me all his pictures, a lot of his pictures, and they're great. I think they're amazing. He's a great artist, and like some of them are, it's like with me in writing, scenes are finished, the whole thing, the whole story isn't finished. With him, with his drawings, it's some of like beautiful things, and then he's like, yeah, I don't finish them. And I said, oh, Marileidy is in art class, and the only reason why she finishes is because she has to, because she gets graded on it. And isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I just think that's a funny concept.
No, it really is.
So, but that helps you. But for you, what do you think that helps you with your writing? Because I read something that you wrote the other day, and even though it was an academic thing, what's cool about art history and theory and stuff is that you bring your own writings to it. Mm-hmm. And you bring your own thoughts to it, your own wisdom to it. So while you're talking about and depicting art, What is art? There's no answers to art, even if there are answers, quote unquote.
There's none.
There's your
Yeah.
interpretation. Well, it's like your interpretation, man.
Yeah.
So how does that help your creativity with these deadlines and stuff?
It definitely helps a lot, because at a certain point you're just like, I have to stop. Like, I have to stop, and this is complete. So I think, one, it helps you understand when to call it and really decide that something is done, because I think that's a really tough choice to make, because you want to just work on something and but I think when you overwork anything, you take away the rawness and pureness that I think is important to preserve in anything that you do. And I think when you do try to refine it and refine it and refine it, it just becomes too sharp, you know? And so I can definitely get to that point where I'm like, oh, I can fix this sentence and, you know, use vocabulary that's more academic, and I'm like, but no, then I'd be taking away my own personal voice. Like, this is how I wanted to say it. So I think that that's also important, to know when something is complete, because you know that if you continue to refine it, it's going to become stale and it's going to become removed from what you wanted initially. So that's important. And I think that really comes with focusing on your intention for the piece. Like, you want to write something that is your own, but you also have an audience, and you want to create a certain experience for your audience. And in order to do that, you have to be authentic. And so I think that that's really important. And I do think that having deadlines can teach you how to also hold yourself accountable in a way, and to learn how to organize your time. Because I think that that's the most important thing when you're doing any creative project, is to learn how to organize your time, and how to use your time to understand your process, so that you can keep working towards your goal. And I think that that comes from, I really do think that that's practice. I really, really do believe it, because sometimes I'm working on something and I'm like, this is never gonna like be what I want it to be, and then all of a sudden it is, and then I'm like, I have no idea how that happened. And I really like that feeling, because I'm forced to continue working on something even though I feel terrible about it, or I don't feel like it's good enough. I have to continue, because I'm like, this is my framework. If I start over, I'm going to be behind even more. So I might as well work with what I have. And I think that that's been really helpful.
So you would say that intuitively, you know, something isn't it, this isn't the final, this isn't the final, and then something happens where you're like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
That was great. It's done. It's almost done now, or done now.
Yeah. Almost done. Or I get it. I see, I've basically made my way through the thicket, and I can see the forest.
Isn't
yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, that's so funny, because that's I once again, knowing you are a perfectionist, right? So for you to say that shows you that the work of things is the process of doing it is the only way it gets done.
Yeah.
Because you can't sit there and when you just want to work on it.
Yeah.
Yes, you do that. You specifically do that, but you do that with an idea that there is a deadline.
Mm-hmm.
And the deadline, I would say, probably is the best way for you to work, I would say.
It is the best way
Yeah.
for me to work. And it's also kind of made me use my desire to get good grades and to perform well in a different way. So instead of it being a competition against people, because that's kind of how it's framed when you're in school, like you're competing with other people to like be better than them, or to be smarter than them, or to get a better job than them. Instead of doing that, I'm using that like desire for validation with grades as a way to discipline myself. And I think that that's, instead of trying to change the fact that I do feel good when I get a good grade, instead of trying to do that, feeling like the work that I'm putting in deserves a good grade. And I think that that's been really helpful. Instead of just chasing the grade, focusing on the work that I'm doing and knowing that as long as I put my effort in, it's gonna result in something great. And I think that what I'm learning now is that the more work that I put into these projects, the more that grade gets, it moves to the background, because it becomes less about that and like the process of learning when you are working on something and you are completing something and you're like, this is it, this is what I've got. And I think that effort on my part has never really been there. Like I was saying before, I've like just relied on like, oh, all right, I'll do the paper 2 hours before it's due and it'll be fine
to get your grade.
And yeah, sometimes it would be good, you know what I mean, because I've always been able to like write things and pretend that I know what I'm talking about, but it's never felt good afterwards. And now it does feel good.
So it feels good, would you say, because now you're putting in the effort, and it's not just I'm getting a good grade, but I'm putting in the effort, and it's the effort, and the fact that I got a good grade just reflects the effort that I gave.
Yeah.
That's so interesting, because it reminds me of something, you're in good company, Robert Rodriguez said, where he was in a film class in like when he was younger, I guess college or something, I forgot, and he said that he was up one night all night doing these hand-drawn things for an animation for the beginning opening of his short film for class. And he was up all night and he did it, and he came into class and he showed his friend, a classmate, and his classmate was like, you didn't have to do all that to get an A. And he's like, I'm not just trying to get an A, man. I'm trying to make movies,
exactly.
Man. You know?
And then if you find yourself in an institution where you're putting in a lot of work and effort into something and they're like, no, then that's time to call it, You're like, all right, man, you've done all you could for me. I'm gonna peace out now. Like, I found that drive and that flow and that discipline within my own self that I don't need that external kind of framework to do any of my work anymore. And I think that's like wonderful, you know what I mean, too. I'm trying to get there. That's where I'm trying to get, where I'm just like, well, all right, like I know I did this. I know I worked really hard, and I know this is my voice, and if you can't see it, then it's time for me to spread my wings and fly.
Well, so there's two things that I want to ask a question, but first it reminds me of another story. I just listened to directors talk all day and writers. So when PTA was in college, there was a writing assignment, and he put in a writing assignment. I think it was from like, I don't know, David Mamet, maybe it was Dostoevsky. It was some very great writer, and he put in the assignment and he got it back and he got a C. Like, he put their work in as like plagiarism and got a C back. And they said, oh, it's not that good. So he knew, he's like, all right, I'm dropping out of film school, because if you guys are calling this a C, I don't have to hear anything you're saying. Which is funny though, because people can't recognize you even at a college level where you think, so that just goes with anything. People have to see your brilliance, but you have to know you're brilliant to begin with. So,
or you have to know that, no, actually, I can pick out what's good and not
this
good.
Is good. Yeah, this is good regardless of what you're saying. You guys, your taste is not that great. So you said you have to get there, but so how do you transition from knowing that there's a deadline to getting a good grade to now giving yourself the grade, giving yourself, like outside of school, giving yourself the deadline, giving yourself the assignment even? You have to give yourself the homework, the deadline, and the grade.
Yeah. I don't think I'm there yet. I think that I still need someone to hold my hand, because it really, like, I think when you are younger, like I'm in my 20s, late 20s, I think that there is, I know I'm old, but I think that there is this chaotic, passionate, out of controlness that exists inside of you, and I think that can be very difficult to ground yourself in any way, and that's why I do feel like I need the framework, I need the hand-holding, I need the comments, I need the feedback, because I think it's helping me learn more about my own self and also learn about how other people see the world. Because I think that as we're getting, like, when we're younger, I think that sometimes we have a difficulty understanding other people's place in the world. I think it can be very self-centered, and I think that it's important to start to see, like, that other people are out there, and it's good to hear their feedback, and it's good to hear what they have to say. And I think it's important to build a solid group of people that you can trust with their whatever they have to say about your work. And you don't have to necessarily take it personally or take it to heart or it be like the final thing, but I do think it's important to learn how to value other people's opinions and perspectives and feedbacks. And I think that we can do that by reading as well, like reading novels. It doesn't have to necessarily come from like an institution. I think we can form like friendships and relationships and kind of create that environment as well. But I definitely do think that, especially like I read something, I forgot where it's from exactly, but Virginia Woolf was like, women need to have
Feminist.
She's like, women need to have a strong historical background, whatever that is, like whatever area of study it is what fascinates you. But she really believed that women needed to learn about history from whatever perspective. And I do think everybody should learn about history, whatever it is that interests them, whatever like individual perspective they have for looking at history, whether that's through art, whether that's through conspiracy theories, whatever it's through, like that's your own lens. But I do think it's important to try to understand the origin story. Where do we come from and why are we here? And
just those two questions.
Yeah, right. Just those two questions. And I really agree with that. And I do think it's especially important for women because we have all of these chaotic energies all of the time. And I think that when you're able to learn about history from whatever lens, you're able to ground your ideas in something substantial. You're able to look at the world from like a place of curiosity, not only like feel these feelings of like your place in society or just like social political things, or you're able to really start to orient yourself to the world as an individual who in a way is a product of the history that has come before, and I think when you're able to do that and like understand that about yourself and understand that about the world and other people, it can make things feel lighter and more easier to navigate. And that's really what's been the most helpful, I think.
So you think that knowing the history, or at least the interpretation of Virginia Woolf's quote, is saying you could look past all the BS once you know the past. Once you know all that history, you kind of look past everything and you kind of see everything for what it is. Yeah.
Like, oh, this makes sense. Like, I get why, religion has had as much power and control as it has over time in history, and why it's shaped people's ideas of themselves or each other for so long. Like, it makes sense. Like, these things are embedded into our human civilization, and it kind of it makes sense, but it also gives you that also feeling of like, I don't have to actively be a part of it. Like, yes, there are subconscious things or unconscious things that I might not understand or might not see myself doing, but the things that I do actively see, I can change.
That's beautiful. And it actually reminds me what you just said of your paper that you wrote, and when you would talk, because you were how old were those figures that they date? Because me and I don't think they know how old anything is, but what's the earliest?
So About 5,000 years ago.
So 5,000 years ago, there's this art. There's these like totems, these art totems and stuff.
Ooh, I like that word. I didn't use that word,
Totems?
but I like that.
Yeah. I mean, that could be wrong. I don't know. You know, I make up every word and phrase that I have. But they have these totems, and then you said, I'm not gonna get I'm so bad at remembering things specifically, but the gist of what you said was that the creation of these totems was people looking deep into themselves. If you want to say it, if you remember it, or you want to say it yourself, but I'm gonna volley it up to you, and maybe we can end it here because it's the stomach is grumbling, and I gotta feed the meter. But so we've always had that sense of 5,000 years ago. And it didn't start then either, but we always had that sense to look inside. And you said that something beautiful. So if you want to say, like specifically, if you remember what you said and where you were going with that in your paper.
Yeah. I guess that what I was saying all in all is that there's always been a desire for human connection. There's always been questions about, why are we here? What are we doing? Why are we suffering? Do you feel what I feel? Are you suffering like I am? Are you as confused as I am? And I think that there's always been those questions in our society. And I think the art that emerges from these periods and this time really shows that people are taking the time to try to understand these questions and to also try to create a tangible order in all of the chaos. And I think the objects that I studied are a representation of that, creating order from chaos and trying to understand why it is that we want or feel the things that we do.
Thank you for being my first guest, my love.